Thank you all. Thank you all. Well, welcome to the Capitol. It's great that you're all. Sir, you're welcome to come. Let me finish. Let me finish and vote.
Hey, sir, he doesn't have fucking votes first. Shut your fucking mouth.
Oh, hey, there's some passion in the building, which is a good thing. Look, we got an opportunity here. We've got an opportunity to continue something that this group, and I'm going to give the credit to it, the Commander's Task Force of the organizations came to this Capitol, and with this administration, we said, before we decide how we're going to do budgets, in good years and bad years, we are going to do veterans issues first. We're going to remove them from the political discussion, and we will not balance budgets or pit veterans against children, transportation, and seniors, and we will fund them according to the needs. That has happened 6 years in a row. This collective work, bipartisanly, nearly unanimously, has put historic amounts of money into veterans issues. We are going to become the fifth state and the largest state to eliminate veterans homelessness in this state. We have opened more veterans homes and veterans cemeteries than any other state in the union. And when I served as the ranking member, we put in federally more money than had ever been put into the VA system. And when I sat on that committee and we got the federal money for these homes, I cautioned every one of you and everyone in here, if you build these veterans homes, you must fund them every single year to the needs that are there. You have 3 budgets out there, and when House members stand here, they do not fund it to the need that's there. We're going to have a debate, but I've made it clear, I will compromise with you on the budget. I will not compromise in the space of the veterans issues. We are going to fund them to where they need to be. And those of us who stand here, much of the veterans budget is funded by the federal government. Much of the benefits we get are federal employees, veterans themselves. 83,000 of them are going to be laid off and fired. Well, some of you voted for it. So we need to come up here and say, that's not what I voted for. That's the same thing here. I don't give a damn what your politics are across the board, but how the hell we got into an issue where we weren't unified about taking care of our veterans, and for 6 years in a row as governor, we passed nearly unanimous budgets of historic proportion to care for our veterans. That's because you walked in this building, you checked the partisanship at the door, and you said you don't get to stand here and talk about veterans and go back into the back rooms and cut the money from them. You don't get to stand here and say you support the veterans and underfund what they need. You don't get to sit here and pretend like you're taking care of them when at the end of the day, are you taking care of them and paying the benefits they earn? Are you taking care of them and building those homes and letting them live in dignity? Are you putting in a veteran cemetery that needs to be cared for from now till the end of time and making it like they are in Minnesota, ranked the best in the country? That didn't happen. That didn't happen without this. What changed here is veterans got together, the Commander's Task Force got together, you hired Trent Dilf, who kicks ass on these things, and bring him up here, and you put people in leadership up here who, just like I did in Congress, work side by side with my Republican colleagues to deliver on this. So if you want to fight social issues, if you want to fight issues on transportation or who the hell uses a bathroom, go fight them. But if you want to fight for veterans, come in here, get behind the right budget, and pass it. That's what we need to do. You earned it. They earned it. We have a responsibility to deliver it. We've done it 6 years in a row. I don't know why we wouldn't do it this year. So you need to demand, before we balance this budget, pass the Veterans Omnibus, get it done, then you can go home unless you want to come back and fight on the other issues. Thank you all. Stand firm on this issue. Let's get it done.
Thank you, Governor. Next, I will invite Senator Eric Putnam from...
Hey, everybody. Thanks for being up here. These guys are here for the right thing. I'm going to make my pitch again on this. I think something that sets us apart, this discussion on the Veterans Omnibus, and I think many of you know this well, we've got a lot of different things that we've got to get done. At the end of the day, there's a lot of trading that's done. I came here, and in our first administration, we've done it the last 2 budget cycles, is asked that we do the veterans issues first, we fund them accordingly. I do believe we've lost 1 or 2 votes over the 6 years, the 3 budget cycles, and asking these folks to do it again. I think the challenge is going to be the 3 new veterans home. It's the operating expense in the veterans home that's a catch-up. I'm going to make a plea to Minnesotans that we can deal with this budget. We can get this thing done. This is not the place to do it. With that, any questions?
Governor, the reaction to some of the boos that you got out there and some of the heckling.
Yeah, and some of the thank you, and this guy wanted to go brawl, help me brawl the guy. Look, that's what they're going to do. These folks come here, they're going to have to face the reality. Some of these guys voted for what's happening at the VA and they don't like it. Some of them come up here and are saying they're supporting folks who are voting against this. The House budget is grossly underfunded in veterans, and it has to change. I have told them time and time again, there are every other area I will negotiate with them. That's an area that I think it's just the need. The funds are there. This isn't a like a want to have thing. Those are what needs to be done. So I expect this. I expect you get some of this out of it. We'll get this Veterans Omnibus done.
What about balancing the budget? On again, off again, tariffs, economies all over the place. How do you balance the budget?
It's very difficult, and I think that's the one that gets set out there. I mentioned it at the end. The bulk of the VA is funded, obviously. The state makes up a sliver, 1%. 99% is the veterans benefits. It's impossible. There is no rhyme or reason to this. You knew that that's what was going to happen. The chaos that's being caused, that I've said it time and time again, there is no plan with this. Hugely frustrated. Our trading partners are hugely frustrated. Again, I will reiterate what I said last week. Our agencies are planning for the worst. They're not going to be able to fund it. I think there's the economists were a better than 50% chance driving us towards recession. The good news is, again, Minnesota's in a good spot. We have rainy day funds. We're able to fund the things we need to. We simply need to slow the growth in a couple of areas, and we're solid and we're ready for rainy day.
The president has paused for 90 days most of the tariffs that will go beyond the end of the legislative session. Does that change things?
No, it makes it worse. Look, who runs a business with this on? It pops into his head and he does this. I thought yesterday, oh, there's no way I'm pausing it. This is about making them pay. No, it's not. It's about having people come and grovel to the president thinking he's going to get a deal, thinking we're going to, that he's going to move all manufacturing back here. I don't know with the 3% unemployment how he thinks he's going to do that, and how those wages that were paid for those jobs are going to sustain Americans. We should be focusing on the next generation of innovation, whether it's clean energy, clean technology, biotech, ag tech. That's what we're doing in Minnesota. Pardon me?
Your funding dashboard that online.
Yes, and I want to thank the folks at MMB. We'll send you over, and if it gets out there, if you guys get it in your stories for Minnesotans, there's a dashboard that shows where all the federal funds come from. And as in real time, when we hear whether they cut them, pull grants, and just so people know how to run a business or what's happening, we have grants that were given to us, and many of our agencies, like Health, run on that. What happened last week was they had a grant that was extended out for 2 more years, and we budget based on that, and we plan based on that, we hire based on that. And one day on March 25th, they said it's done, and on March 26th, our people were gone. We want to make sure Minnesotans have a little bit of lead time to see what's happening. They'll be able to see a lot of that in real time, what happens.
So there's an ethics review right now, and the Senate President, Bobby Joe Champion, do you believe he had a conflict of interest with the budget?
Well, they'll find that out, but I think it's a point in here that I am just going to state. I believe you need the strongest ethics requirements.
I believe the inability of the legislature to have to adhere to data practices stops all of you from being able to find some of the things that are necessary to make sure there's accountability. I would ask the Senate and the House, the legislature here in Minnesota, I think this incident would be a good, they'll find out, I'm certainly not passing judgment, but I think this would be a good time to subject themselves to the same requirements that every other agency, myself included, is, and that is a piece of the press's major responsibility. You will all be out there, you'll be asking for those. They need to have data practices and the reforms we've asked for.
Let's do one more. Legislatively named grants, so direct appropriations for grants. That's at the center of this controversy with Senator Champion.
I'm not comfortable with naming the grants, I have to be honest with you. I know it's something we've done here. We've worked on them on budgets. I think this, and again, I'm not passing judgment on Senator Champion. He needs to have his due process and get out there. I think even the ability to name something, and if you have any connection whatsoever, just the optics of impropriety is very clear, and I think you want these grants, if you want to have competitive grants, the way those should be done. If they're competitive grants in health, the health department should carry them out, not the legislators who don't have the expertise.
Governor, we got to get to the...
We expect to come up in the budget fight is medical assistance coverage for undocumented immigrants and whether to roll that back. Republicans have wanted to roll that back. Where do you stand on that? I know you signed it last time.
I'm not going to debate with myself at this point in time. I know they're bringing it up. The issue around this is that we know when folks get preventative medical help, it saves us money in the long run. I'm deeply concerned, especially on things like public health with measles. If folks aren't able to get their vaccinations, get basic care, that's why we put these things in. I was especially focused on children. The legislature expanded a little bit. We'll talk about it, but in the big budget fight we have and the cost savings, that's not what's costing us the money. So,
what did you hear in Ohio last week or this week? And will you travel next week when the legislature's off?
Yeah, what I heard in Ohio is fascinating, just by the way. In Youngstown, 3,000 people showed up. Last night in Lorain, they planned for 300. They filled an auditorium of 1,200, and they had an overflow in the gym of 1,200. They weren't there to see me. They were there to join together, and I asked last night how many of them had ever been to one of these events or political events. 75% hadn't been. And the issue is, and many of you were witness to this, during the Tea Party debates, I did town halls where I stood in front of 3,000 angry people and answered questions for over 3 hours. And what these folks are saying is we want to be heard. We want to know about Social Security. We want to know especially about title funding in education. We're deeply concerned with the tariffs at that time in Ohio. And in all honesty, there was some really good stuff. What I was out there to hear, they said both parties have promised Ohio. I stood in front of that Lordstown plant that had 4,500 auto workers that was idle. Donald Trump told them, I'll bring back the jobs, don't sell your house. He did. All of them lost their jobs. But in all fairness, that started back with President Clinton and continued on. So it was good for me as these folks were talking about what does modern manufacturing look like. They're not interested in getting a T-shirt factory in Ohio, but it was good. They want to know. They're frustrated. You saw it across the country, people showing up, peacefully protesting. There's no rhyme or reason. The middle class is being hurt. Prices are going up. Gas prices are going up. And there seems to be, when the president says, I don't really care if a car price goes up, that has a ripple effect all the way to the miners on the iron range that are laid off.
More travel, Tom, Mary, was more travel.
I'm on the weekends coming back. I think it's out there. I have been invited, and I think I'm going to be in Toronto with Premier Ford and Canoe to talk about this. And I think the timing now is, especially if these things are in pause, what we can do to strengthen some of that trade. That's an invitation I think I'm going to take. But at this time, no other town halls or anything.
Is
planned.
that next week with Toronto?
I believe so. I believe so. I don't have the exact date, but I believe it's next week.
Governor.
All right, and thank you all.
Thank you, Governor.